CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts and Lisa Collin for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? There's a dark web warning about a man who goes door to door, offering free upgrades for kids' tablets. I met him. He wasn't human. Okay, so, before you'll call me crazy, I need to say this really clear. I know what I saw. This happened last year, summer of 2024. And yeah, maybe I was sleep deprived. Maybe I'd been on TikTok too much. Maybe the true crime podcasts got in my head. But this wasn't paranoia. This was real. And something is still out there, knocking. I live in a small town outside of Portland, Oregon. One of those quiet, moss-covered suburbs where everyone still waves to each other. And there's always a group chat full of overly enthusiastic moms posting, "Watch out for coyotes," whenever someone's cat goes missing. That kind of place. So you'd think nothing really weird ever happens here. But I swear to God, this is where it started. It was mid-July, hot as hell. I was house-sitting for my sister and her husband while they took their 2 kids to Disney World, because Florida in July sounds like a great idea, apparently. They left me with full fridge access, a password to the Disney Plus account, and a warning to keep the neighbor's cat out of the garage. I was scrolling Reddit late one night, reading stories on r/no-sleep with a blanket over my head and the AC blasting in the background. It was like 2:30 a.m. and I remember this specifically because I was just reading a post titled, "If someone offers to upgrade your kid's tablet for free, run." It caught my eye because it sounded like some dumb Facebook scam warning. You know, those ones that go viral in mom groups. But the story felt off. The OP said the guy showed up in person wearing this weird badge and this bright yellow jacket with a fake Amazon logo sewn on crooked. He had a tablet in his hand already, like he was showing you how good the upgrade would be. But the creepiest part, everyone who let him in ended up having a kid go missing within the week. They said the man's face didn't move naturally, like his expressions were too smooth, too animated almost, like a Pixar character trying to blend in. I got goosebumps reading it, but didn't think much of it. I mean, that stuff's just creepypasta, right? Until the knock. It was faint at first, not loud, just tap, 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 like a polite delivery guy who doesn't want to wake the baby. At first I thought it was a package, even though it was close to 3 a.m. I've had Amazon drivers drop stuff off late before I walk down the hallway, past the kids' rooms, past the bathroom, and to the front door. Here's the thing, they have a Nest camera, motion activated, decent night vision. I pulled up the feed on my phone before I even peeked out. There was no one there. I'm talking, nothing, not even a raccoon. The porch light was on. Porch was empty. But then came the second knock. Knock, knock, knock. It was louder this time, heavier, like the kind of knock that presses the wood in just a little. You know that type of knock, like someone knows you're inside and they're giving you one last polite chance to open before they start banging. I peeked out through the peephole this time, and I swear on my life, Someone was standing there. He had that yellow jacket. Bright, like way too bright for 3 a.m. And I could see his tablet glowing in his hands. It was already on. I didn't open the door. I just whispered, "Who is it?" Like some scared grandma from a horror movie. The man leaned in and without blinking said, "Free tablet upgrade. Good for your kids. Just takes a moment." His voice was flat, like an AI voiceover trying too hard to sound human. And yeah, maybe it was AI or something, because when I checked the Nest feed again, he wasn't there. I don't mean he left. I mean he was literally not in the footage. There's just a clean video of me walking up, waiting at the door, talking to nothing. That was the first time. After that, things got weirder. The next day, I found the younger kid's iPad, this old scratched up one, covered in those rubbery blue bumpers, on the kitchen counter, but the screen was on, and it was open to the dark web. I swear, the dark web, like not Safari, not Chrome, some weird browser with a black screen and a glowing red eye in the corner. The page said something like, "Upgrade available, child connected, initiate." I didn't touch it, just powered the thing off and left it under a pile of mail. But that night, he came back, same knock, same line. "Free tablet upgrade, just takes a moment." But this time, he knew my name. He said, "Lucas, let me in." I never gave him my name, not online, not outside, but he said it calm, confident, like we were already friends. The weirdest part, no one else could see him. I called my best friend on FaceTime, pointed the camera right at the door as he knocked, but the camera just showed nothing. She thought I was messing with her. My sister came back 2 days later. I told her everything. She thought it was just stress, or maybe I'd seen some TikTok video that got stuck in my brain. She even laughed it off. But when she picked up her daughter's tablet, it didn't ask for a passcode. It unlocked instantly and showed a live feed of our front porch, even though no cameras were recording. And on the screen, standing in crystal clear night vision, the man in the yellow jacket. He smiled, and this time, his mouth didn't stop opening. It just kept stretching, wide, unhinged, like the tablet wasn't showing a camera feed anymore. It was showing his mouth opening directly into wherever we were. That's when I realized it wasn't a scam. It wasn't a man, and it wasn't just happening to me. I didn't sleep after the mouth on the tablet thing. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined that stretched open grin swallowing the house whole, like he could just inhale the walls and pull us into whatever place he came from. But here's the part that still makes my stomach twist. Everything started moving on its own after that night. Not objects, information. It was like the internet itself had been rewired around me. I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop. Notifications, hundreds. TikTok messages, Instagram DMs, Discord pings. Every app I had was flooded with links sent by accounts I didn't recognize, but they weren't normal spam. Every link had the exact same title. "Before you let him upgrade your kid's tablet, read the reviews." That phrase felt like someone whispering behind me. Too close, too intentional, and nobody who sent those links existed when I checked their profiles. Blank pages, no posts, newly created accounts, then deleted, like they were generated just to shove that URL into my hands. I clicked one link, just one, because curiosity is poison when you're scared. The site that opened was built like a sketchy Yelp clone. Black background, glitchy white text, jittering like it was typed by a shaking hand. Service, free upgrade, technician, Rating, 1 star. Reviews, 19,432. I didn't scroll at first. My fingers just hovered there, frozen. Then I saw the first review. It wasn't written. It was a video. A recording of a little boy, maybe 7, sitting on the floor of his bedroom. Minecraft posters on the wall. His tablet on his lap. He's looking past the camera like he's listening to someone who isn't visible. Then, in this tiny trembling voice, he says, "I didn't say yes." He came in anyway. The camera shakes, drops sideways. Off-screen footsteps. Heavy. Purposeful. The video cuts before anything else happens, but the last frame isn't dark. It's a face. Not the man's face. Just his eyes. Too bright. Too steady. Like they were recording me back. I slammed my laptop shut so hard the screen whined. But the thing is, it didn't matter that I closed it. The audio kept playing. A whisper. Distant, crawling. Like breath sliding under a locked door. Still watching. Lucas. I unplugged everything: router, TV, even the smart fridge. Didn't matter. Screens around the house flickered on anyway. Every one of them, playing different reviews at the same time. One from London, with a mother whispering into her camera that the man had asked for her daughter by name, even though her daughter wasn't even on social media. One from Seoul, someone filming a blurry figure pacing outside a high-rise apartment door, tapping a little rhythm on a child's tablet, like he was sending a code 1 from Toronto. A dad who had barricaded his door with furniture, but said he kept hearing the man's voice coming from the vents, offering upgrades in this syrupy, cheerful tone, like a cartoon mascot. And one from Dubai, a teenager recording his bedroom with the lights out, whispering that the man had climbed the side of this skyscraper like it was flat ground, staring into the window with a smile that didn't blink. I watched review after review until my heart felt like it was bruising itself against my ribs. None of these recordings showed violence. There was never screaming, no obvious struggle, just the moments before something happened. Those seconds when someone realizes they're already too late. But then I found the review that locked something cold inside my chest. It wasn't a video. It was text, written in rushed, uneven lines, like someone kept glancing over their shoulder. He doesn't want the kids. He wants the device they rely on, because once he touches it, it stops being theirs, and then he can track them through anything with a screen, even if it's turned off, even if it isn't plugged in, even if it's broken. My hands were shaking. I don't mean trembling, shaking like my nerves were misfiring. I tried backing out of the page, couldn't. Every time I hit the button, a new review popped up automatically, like the site didn't want me leaving yet. Then one appeared, written in perfect, clean text. No shaking, no panic. "Stop scrolling, Lucas." My mouth went dry. Before I could even breathe, another line appeared beneath it. "Look behind you." I didn't, couldn't, wouldn't, because something in that room changed. You know that sudden shift in air pressure when someone steps into a doorway? That soft displacement of warmth? I felt that. Just a small push of cold air brushing past my ear like someone had leaned in close. Then, knock, 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 not on the front door. This time, it came from the hallway outside the bedroom, inside the house. A slow, patient knock, like knuckles tapping drywall, 6 inches from my face. On the other side of a thin wall, I heard his voice for the first time, without a screen. Just a quick upgrade. Just for a moment. But it didn't sound like the recordings. It wasn't flat or robotic. It was wrong in a more human way, like someone trying to push too many emotions into one sentence. Happy, urging, desperate, excited, as if he couldn't decide which mood a person was supposed to use. I stood up slowly, grabbing a metal water bottle because it was the only thing near me I could use as a weapon. My heartbeat was so loud I could barely hear his next words. "You've seen the reviews, Lucas. Open the door." The knock turned into scratching, not nails. Something smoother, like fingertips dragging gently along the wall, searching, mapping out the room, learning it. Then the tablet on the dresser powered on by itself. White screen, no apps, no icons, just a single sentence typed across the middle. "We only take the ones who open the door." The scratching stopped. Silence. Silence so thick it pressed into my ears. Then he whispered, "You left something outside." My blood froze. I replayed everything in my head, running inside last night, locking the door, checking the windows, killing the lights. But I realized something I hadn't thought of. The family's spare tablet, the one that first opened to the dark web. I had taken it out to the porch earlier that day to inspect it in sunlight, and I had left it outside. The tablet screen in front of me flickered. A live feed popped up, grainy black and white, and showed the front porch. The man in the yellow jacket was standing there, holding the spare tablet in both hands, but he wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking straight up, staring directly into the camera, staring at me. And slowly, carefully, he lifted one finger and tapped the screen of the device he was holding. The tablet in my room tapped back. Not physically. The sound played from the speaker, like it was answering him, like the two screens were communicating. His head tilted, like a curious dog learning a new trick. Then he mouthed something. No sound, no voice, just lips forming two clear words. "Found you." I didn't move for a long time after he mouthed those words. You know that dizzy, sinking feeling when you miss a step in the dark and your stomach drops like you're falling. Imagine that sensation stretched into minutes. That's what it felt like, standing there in that bedroom, like gravity kept forgetting what direction it wanted to pull me in. And then the tapping began, not from the hallway, not from the door, not even from inside the house. It came from every device in the building at once. The spare phones in the junk drawer, the smart TV in the living room, the microwave, kid's gaming tablet under the mail pile, even the baby monitor my sister left, plugged in, a soft, steady rhythm. Tap, 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 like he was knocking through the circuitry, calling through the wires. Every screen in the house turned on at the same time. White static, bright enough to burn the room in bleach light. My skin prickled, like I was standing too close to an open freezer door, but the air didn't move. It wasn't temperature. It was something else, something electrical. And the tablet on my dresser lit up with a single message. "Do not break connection." My throat tightened, because I didn't type that, I didn't say it. I didn't think anything close to it. The house answered him before I could. The hallway creaked, not like footsteps, not like weight, more like pressure pushing outward, like something was pressing on the walls, testing how strong they were. The Nest camera feed on the tablet shifted. The man in the yellow jacket leaned closer into the lens, too close, his face blurring at the edges, like the camera couldn't decide where the outline of his skin ended. Then he raised the family's spare tablet and pressed it against the porch light. The bulb exploded. The tablet in my room flickered violently, filling the screen with red, then black, then red again, like a heartbeat that wasn't human, and the house lights, all of them, buzzed at the same frantic rhythm. My ears rang, not from volume, from interference. It felt like something was humming against the inside of my skull, vibrating bone, rewriting the air. A message appeared on the tablet again. Fast, too fast. Text skidding across the screen like someone was dragging it with frantic, shaking hands. He doesn't need doors. He just needs a signal. I stumbled backward, slamming into the dresser. Something fell onto the floor, but I didn't look down. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen because the Nest feed had changed. It wasn't the porch anymore. It was the hallway. Inside. My hallway. The camera I never installed. The perspective was impossible. Too low, too steady, like something crawling was holding the camera at chest height. It moved slowly toward my bedroom door. Closer, closer. The tablet screen stuttered, pixelating into blocks of white and gray static, but I could still make out the shape approaching my door. Shoulders too narrow, head too smooth, movements too fluid, like joints bending in the wrong directions. And then it lifted something into view. My sister's iPad, the one I'd left outside, the one he had touched. He held it out in front of him like an offering. The screen wasn't cracked. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't even reflecting. It was pulsing, like something inside was beating against it. The device in my room vibrated violently, jumping on the dresser like it wanted to walk off the edge. The lights flickered so fast, the room stuttered in stop motion. The hum behind my forehead grew louder, sharper, like a signal trying to burrow deeper into my thoughts. My vision blurred for a second, and I swear, just for a blink, I wasn't standing in the bedroom anymore. I was standing in a long, dim corridor lined with hundreds of screens, all showing different houses, different kids' rooms, different doorways, and behind each door stood the same figure, yellow jacket, tablet in hand, waiting, watching, learning. Then, just as fast, I was back in the bedroom, gasping for air. The tablet on my dresser stopped vibrating. The feed froze. The hallway camera cut to black. Then slowly, a new message appeared across the screen. Interference detected. My heart thudded painfully. Another line appeared beneath it. Connection interrupted. Then, recalculating entry. I didn't think, didn't breathe, didn't turn on the lights. I bolted down the hallway, past the kids' rooms, past the kitchen, past the front door, because instinct screamed that outside was worse. Straight into the laundry room, where there were no screens, none, just a washing machine and a dryer humming quietly. I slammed the door, locked it, pressed my back against the appliance until my spine ached. I listened. The house settled. Then it breathed. Not air, not wind, not footsteps. A soft ripple of static passing through every outlet, like electricity whispering. Tap, 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 tap. Then, directly behind the walls, almost gentle. Found you again. The washing machine shook under me. No, that wasn't right. It was vibrating in sync with something outside the door, like someone tapping on it from the inside of the metal drum. I held my breath. The machine beeped, a bright, cheerful startup chime. Then its digital display lit up with a glowing white square. A cursor blinked. Then words appeared on a washing machine screen, a screen that shouldn't even support text. Any device, any signal, anywhere you hide. My knees went weak. The chime played again, higher pitch this time, almost mocking. The screen flickered, and then one last message slid across it slowly, each letter punching into the display like a cold fingertip pressing on the back of my neck. You didn't let me in, so I'll come find what you left behind. Every device in the house beeped at the exact same time. Every single one. Then, the house went completely, painfully silent. Not empty, not safe. Just waiting. Like it knew something I didn't. The silence after that mass beeping wasn't natural. It wasn't peace, or safety, or even the kind of quiet you get at 4 a.m. when the world is half asleep. It was engineered. Like something had pressed mute on the entire house. Airflow, hums, the fridge motor, the wind outside, killed them all in the same breath. I stayed in the laundry room for maybe 15 minutes, or an hour. Time felt slippery, sliding around in my hands like I couldn't hold on to it. The washing machine screen had gone dark again, thank God. But I didn't trust looking at it too long. I didn't trust anything with a display. When I finally cracked the door open, the hallway beyond looked stretched, not physically, perspective-wise, like the kind of distortion you get in a funhouse mirror. Edges felt too sharp. The air felt too thin. My breath fogged, even though it wasn't cold. But none of that terrified me, half as much as what I saw at the end of the hall. The front door was open, just a few inches, just enough for someone to slip through sideways, just enough for something to have already come and gone. The doormat was crooked. The outside porch light, shattered earlier, was glowing again, except the light flickered in slow, unnatural pulses, like it had a heartbeat. But the tablet I'd left outside, gone. And that wasn't the worst part. What froze me there, what pinned every muscle in my body in place, was the faint smear of something on the inside of the doorframe. Not blood, not dirt. Something mechanical, oily, a thin dark streak like the residue left by overheated plastic. It had fingerprints in it. 5 long fingerprints, pressed too deep into the wood. I didn't touch it. I didn't want whatever left that stain to recognize my skin in return. I called my sister next, not because I wanted to scare her, but because the kids' devices were hers, and the man, the thing, had taken one. She didn't answer. 3 calls, 4, straight to voicemail, no ringing, no connection, just dead air. I tried her husband, same thing. Then I tried their hotel in Florida. When the manager finally picked up, her voice was weirdly soft, like she'd been crying recently and was trying to hide it. She told me my sister and her family had been temporarily relocated from the Disney hotel room. Temporarily relocated. Who the hell gets relocated at a theme park? I pushed for details until the manager slipped, just a little, and said 3 words in a shaky voice. Uninvited technological interference. My entire spine turned to ice. Before I could ask anything else, she ended the call. The silence in the house thickened as I made my way back into the kids' rooms. Their toys were scattered the way they'd left them a week earlier. Lego piles, a stuffed axolotl, a Roblox hoodie draped over a chair. Nothing moved, nothing looked touched, except the youngest child's nightlight. It was glowing a cold, unnatural blue instead of its usual soft yellow, and the shape reflected inside it wasn't a star or a moon. It was an eye, perfectly round, perfectly still, watching. My throat closed. The nightlight flickered and then flashed a sentence in blocky pixel lettering. Retrieval complete. Then it shut itself off. I backed away until I hit the bookshelf. Something crunched under my foot. I looked down, and my pulse nearly stopped. It was the missing tablet, the one he took. But it wasn't intact anymore. It was flat, flattened like someone had pressed their entire weight on it. But the edges weren't bent. They were melted, softened, pressed inward, as if something warmer than fire had folded it into itself, like soft clay. The screen was still glowing faintly, just enough that I could see the crackling text embedded deep under the warped glass. One message, just one. The child is not required, only the connection. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I was going to pass out, because he hadn't taken a kid. He hadn't taken a person. He took the signal. Whatever that tablet had stored, search history, apps, location services, saved accounts, voice samples, camera access. He had it all now, all of it. And based on the final line slowly scrolling across the bent display, he was using it. Next, targets identified. Under that line, names appeared. My sister, her husband, then the children, then the neighbors next door, then 4 more names I didn't know, then my name, then signals approaching. I didn't understand what that meant, not until every device in the house lit up again, not with text, not with video, but with a new sound, a soft mechanical breathing, a low, rhythmic inhale, exhale of something mimicking human lungs, but wrong hollow, like air being dragged across cold metal. I ran, not out the front door. I wasn't dumb enough to think outside was safer, but to the garage. No screens, no signals. I yanked the emergency pulley and let the heavy garage door slam shut behind me. Darkness swallowed the room. My heart hammered so loud it echoed. Then the breathing followed, not from outside, not from behind the door, from inside the garage, somewhere in the far corner, behind the stored boxes and the hanging bikes. Something shifted in the dark with a smooth mechanical hiss, something adjusting itself, unfolding, and then a quiet voice emerged from that darkness, glitching around the edges, warped like an audio file corrupted. You should not have interrupted download. The automatic garage door opener overhead beeped once, then lit up bright white, exactly enough to reveal what was standing on the storage shelf. Not the man, not the yellow jacket, something smaller, child-sized, perfectly still, face smooth, skin too even, like poured silicone, eyes dimly glowing like a screen in sleep mode, body shaped like a kid, but with joints spaced out just a little too wide, like a mannequin someone had stretched slightly at the elbows and knees, and in its hand, a melted, pulsing fragment of the missing tablet. It lifted the broken piece and held it toward me, like it wanted me to take it. Then its head tilted violently, like a puppet whose strings had been yanked, and it said, "Transfer is not complete. Come closer." I didn't move. It leaned forward. Closer. The garage lights flickered overhead, flashing bright, then dim, then bright again, and the thing on the shelf twitched like it was buffering, like it was jittering between frames. Then it whispered, "The others are already on their way." My entire body locked, because I realized something awful. The breathing I'd heard earlier, the mechanical air pull, the signal static inhale. There were more than one now, at least 6, all closing in. The breathing didn't stay in the dark corner. It multiplied. The sound came from behind the bikes, then from the rafters, then from underneath the car. A dozen tiny inhales, syncing themselves like they were calibrating to the same artificial lung. It didn't sound animal, didn't sound human either. It sounded manufactured, like something learning the basics of being alive, By studying cheap toy microphones and broken vacuum cleaners, I stepped back until my shoulders hit the metal shelving behind me. Every instinct in my body screamed to run, but run where? The garage door wouldn't protect me. The house behind me wasn't safer. Outside, if the man in the yellow jacket could tear apart signals, he could tear apart distance. I was trapped in a box with the dark, and the dark was learning how to breathe. The child-shaped thing on the shelf tilted its head further. That same puppet jerk motion, like something inside it stretched too tight and snapped back in place. It slowly lowered the melted fragment of the tablet and pressed it against its own chest. The warped metal sank into its torso, like the body wasn't solid, more like a casing of something soft and warm and wrong. The fragment pulsed once inside it. Then the garage lights died, not flickered, not dimmed, just gone. Instant, total blackness that swallowed the shape on the shelf and every outline around it. It was so suffocatingly dark, it felt wet. And then the breathing stopped, all at once. Like everything in the room suddenly held its breath. I didn't dare in hell. Then a second sound replaced it. Footsteps, small ones, light enough that the concrete barely echoed them. Dozens of feet, but all perfectly synced, moving toward me. Not chaotic, not stumbling, precise. A marching line of something that understood rhythm before it understood anatomy. My fingers fumbled blindly along the shelf behind me, searching for anything to grab. Tools, boxes, a heavy can of paint, anything that could be a weapon. But the darkness felt thick, like my hands were moving through ink. Everything felt damp, slick, soft-edged. My fingertips brushed something metallic, maybe a wrench, maybe a clamp, and before I could close my grip around it, a cold hand touched my wrist, not grabbing, not hurting, just identifying. Smooth palm, precision fingertips, movements so delicate it felt like a scanner sliding over my skin. My breath hitched so sharply it hurt. The hand withdrew, and in a voice so quiet and clean it felt sterilized, something whispered, "Confirmed." My knees almost gave out, because that voice wasn't the man's. It wasn't the child shapes. It wasn't any voice I'd heard yet. It was the house. The whole garage vibrated with that whisper, like every surface carried it, every loose tool, every screw in the wall, every sheet of insulation overhead. Transfer can proceed. Footsteps move closer. 1 step, 2, 3, all perfectly synchronized. I froze so hard, my muscles locked, breath refusing to exit my lungs. Something brushed my ankle, then my sleeve, then the back of my neck. The garage door behind me shuddered lightly, rattling as if someone outside was pressing their face against the metal, not pounding, not pushing, listening. And then I heard it. A voice from the other side of the garage door, not outside in the driveway, outside the world. A slow, scraping whisper, almost tender. Let me finalize the upgrade. My stomach folded in on itself. It sounded like him, the man in the yellow jacket, but further away, not in distance, in layers, like he was speaking through a dozen frequencies at once, sliding between them, speaking from somewhere deeper than sound. The garage door flexed inward slightly, as though something pressed its forehead against it. Then, every phone, tablet, smart appliance, and dead screen in the house lit up simultaneously. Through the wall behind me, I could feel the glow, like heat without warmth. The synchronized footsteps around me stopped. Silence. Then the house whispered again, but in a different voice now. A child's voice, not one I recognized. He's inside the network. I clamped a hand over my mouth. Something small and light crawled up my arm. Not claws, not insect legs. Something more like cable, soft wiring bending and reshaping itself. It circled my wrist, then my forearm, testing muscle, measuring pulse. Then it slid away, not retreating, relocating. Something clicked in the far corner of the garage, like a breaker flipping, then another and another, a cascading chorus of clicks and pops, as if the entire electrical system rearranged itself. The garage door motor above me hummed, then powered on, and the door began to lift. Not fast, slow, deliberate, inches at a time, groaning like it was resisting something. A thin line of nighttime air appeared at the bottom edge. Then more, then more. Then I saw them. 6 shadows standing just outside the rising door, silhouettes against the faint streetlight glow. But they weren't human silhouettes. They were too straight, no shoulders, heads too rounded, feet perfectly parallel, and each of them held a device. Phones, tablets, smart toys, all glowing faint blue, like they were being displayed from behind, not from the screen. Their faces were blank, smooth, except for the single vertical slit where a mouth should be, closed tight, like it was holding something in. The man in the yellow jacket stepped into view behind them, but the yellow looked wrong, too bright, too clean, like a graphic rendered inside reality. He raised the child's melted tablet fragment that had been stolen earlier. The shadows in front of him tilted their heads in unison. The man spoke softly. "Last chance, Lucas. Update or disconnect." My pulse hammered against my ribs, because disconnect didn't sound like freedom. It sounded like removal. I grabbed the garage pull cord with both hands, yanked it off the track, and slammed the door back down with every ounce of strength I had. The moment it hit the ground, the room erupted in deafening metallic screams, not from outside, from the devices inside. Phones shrieking at pitches no human throat could create. The garage opener jittering like it was seizing. The washing machine's chime glitching into a distorted wail. Every LED bursting bright and dark in rapid patterns, like Morse code sent in panic. The child-shaped thing near the shelf convulsed once, twice, then lay still. The air felt suddenly hollow. Then silence. Not natural silence, the kind that follows a system crash. My vision pulsed black for a moment. My knees buckled, and I slid down the wall until I hit the cold concrete. I must have blacked out. When I woke, the garage door was open. Morning sun was spilling in. Warm. Ordinary. The child-shaped thing was gone. The melted tablet fragment was gone. Every device in the house was dead. Every screen black. Every cord severed. I stumbled outside. The driveway was empty. The street was empty. The world looked normal. Too normal. Like someone had repainted it. That's when I saw the police car. 2 officers were standing by my sister's mailbox. One was talking into a radio, voice shaking. The other looked pale, hands gripping his belt too tightly. They saw me, ran over, asking if I was hurt. I tried to explain everything. They didn't believe me, until one officer checked his body cam. He went white. His hand started trembling. He whispered, loud enough that I heard it. It recorded something that isn't on the file. His partner asked him what he meant. He turned the body cam toward him, and in broad daylight, with birds chirping and neighbors walking dogs, we both watched a tiny flicker of footage. The man in the yellow jacket standing beside the police cruiser, in daylight, while we were looking at him, except he wasn't there. He lifted one hand to the camera, pressed a fingertip to the lens, and whispered something. Clear, quiet, certain. Connection restored. The camera glitched, then died. The officer tore it off his vest and threw it like it was burning him. He quit the force that afternoon, packed up his house that evening, and left the state by morning. He didn't even take his phone. I left my sister's town an hour later, left the house, left everything. I don't use smart devices anymore. Not phones, not tablets, not computers, not anything that glows. But sometimes, when the lights are off, wall outlets emit a soft, steady clicking noise. Tap, 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 like something small is breathing through them. And last night, for the first time since I left, a voice whispered through the dead speaker of an unplugged TV. Your upgrade is overdue. I'm a cybercrime detective. Bodies found in the Hudson have barcodes linked to a dark web experiment called Project Childstar. Yo, what's up, Reddit? I've never posted on here before. I used to scroll r/creepy or r/nosleep while falling asleep, just like half of you all probably are right now. But something happened to me this year that straight up hijacked my entire life, and I think the only way to stay sane right now is to talk about it. Not in some fancy-ass blog, not through a Netflix deal, though they will knock eventually, just here, anonymously. Let's call me Jack29. I work in cybercrime, specifically digital forensics and dark web monitoring. That's not sexy sounding, I know. It's mostly me in a small-ass office in lower Manhattan, drinking burnt Starbucks and tracing dead-end onion links while listening to breakcore on low volume. But earlier this year, I got pulled into something I shouldn't have seen, something they didn't want solved, something I think is still happening. I think I found a modern experiment hidden in the darkest parts of the internet. It's called Project Childstar. And yeah, if that sounds like some twisted MK Ultra fanfic, buckle in, because I wish this were fake. I pray this were fake. So this whole thing started in April. We had this alert system tied into Interpol that flags potential child trafficking posts on hidden forums. Not CP, nothing visual. I wouldn't be typing this if it was, but patterns in code, encrypted signals passed via text listings, creepy code words like dolls and playdates, and, God, I hate even writing this, age markers as seasons, like winter 09 equals 14 years old. That week, the system lit up like Times Square, but not because of those forums. It was a thread posted on a dark website called Marionette.exchange, a marketplace forum we were already monitoring, mostly for stolen data. The thread was titled Project Childstar, New Batch Ready, Hudson Delivery Initiated. That was all it said. No replies. Just that. With a sticky post that had a short .onion redirect link and a weird ASCII image below it that looked like a doll's head melting. I clicked it, which I wasn't supposed to do without backup. But again, this wasn't tagged as violent content. It was tagged under medical research. The link redirected to a single web page, black background, white typeface, almost clinical. Phase 2, Human Environmental Response, Cycle Initiated, Batch 04, Beta, 7 units deployed, tracking barcode, number CS DX 0034189, location Hudson, New York, GPS link active until deterioration, 14 days. At first, I thought it was one of those ARGs, like Cicada 3301 meets Reddit style horror bait. But then, something caught my eye. There was an actual GPS link. It opened up Google Maps when I ran it through Tor's decryption shell. It was pinned on a random patch of land near the Hudson River. Not upstate, like in Manhattan, near Hell's Kitchen, under a crumbling overpass I'd jogged past before, not far from a McDonald's and some rotted benches where people sometimes sleep. I copied the link and sent it to my work Slack, tagging my partner Danny with the eyeball emoji. She messaged me back in all caps. "What the fuck is this?" I told her I didn't know, but I was going to check it out on my lunch break. I got to the location around 2:12 p.m. Cloudy day, barely any people around. I passed the McDonald's near 11th Avenue, nodding at some delivery guys, and ducked under the overpass. And I swear on everything, the air changed. It smelled sterile, like hospitals. I know that sounds dumb, but there was this sharp chemical scent hanging in the air, like someone had been pressure washing blood off concrete. And then I saw it, a black duffel bag, sitting perfectly upright next to a storm drain, like someone placed it there with surgical precision. I hesitated, took out my phone, and started recording. I walked over. My heart was in my ears. I squatted down and pulled the zipper slowly. Inside was a mannequin. At least, I thought it was a mannequin. Pale plastic skin, closed eyes, seamless arms, no nipples, no body hair, the kind of uncanny smooth fake flesh you'd expect from a store window. But then, it blinked. I dropped my phone. The thing blinked, real slow, and made this low, glitched sound in its throat, like a dying hard drive, and across its bare chest, under the left collarbone, was a barcode, clear as day, tattooed in black, hashtag CSDX00341889, the same ID from the website. I stumbled back, called 911 immediately, and within 6 minutes, the area was swarming with cops, feds, and EMS. I showed them the video, the website, everything. They took my phone and told me I'd get it back. I never did. That was 6 months ago. They told me not to talk about it. NDA, threat of prosecution, all that cloak and dagger bullshit. But here's the part I can't get out of my head. That wasn't the only one. 3 more were found in the following weeks, all near major rivers, all posed perfectly, eyes closed, wearing synthetic flesh, all with barcodes, and every single one I traced back to that same creepy-ass Project Childstar site they're using real cities, Seoul, Paris, Chicago, even Dubai, like global stages for this twisted science experiment. And every time one of the bodies is recovered, the site updates. Deterioration complete. Response logged. Next batch. Uploading. Soon. I think it's a real project. Not just abductions or trafficking. It's testing something. Human behavior. Or environmental effects on biosynthetic bodies. I don't know. But I've been digging, and what I've found in the site's source code and metadata will destroy you. When I show you next, you don't just forget the smell of synthetic skin rotting under real heat. When I got home that night, after they found the body, or whatever that mannequin thing was, I took 3 showers, 1 cold, 2 boiling. I brushed my teeth until my gums bled, like it had purged the chemical sting in my sinuses, but the smell never left. It was in my clothes, my nails, my head. You ever walk into a room and it feels like something's wrong before you even open your eyes? That's what it did to me. That barcode. I memorized it, and every time I blinked that night, I saw the thing blink back. They told me it was a publicity stunt, some viral marketing thing, a prank. But when I tried to follow up, every trace of that site, marionette.exchange, was gone. Not offline, not moved, scrubbed, burned out like a data black hole, DNS records wiped, GitHub references gutted, Even screenshots I saved were corrupted, like the image itself had some kind of embedded obfuscation. But you know what wasn't gone? The source code I cloned, and the audio file hidden in it. I cracked the HTML on a local virtual machine using an isolated air-gapped rig. No cloud access, no risk. The file was buried 14 folders deep in a structure that mimicked biological cell naming. Nucleus, mitochondria, RNA chain, nursery.wav. When I played it, it didn't sound like a nursery. It was wet, muffled. 37 seconds of children screaming underwater, and layered over it, a man's voice, calm, monotone, repeating a phrase in a loop. Breathe in, ignore the burn, let your stars go quiet. I nearly crushed the headphones, trying to tear them off. That was the first time I actually threw up. The file was time-stamped, April 3rd, 2021. That was 2 years ago. But the metadata had GPS coordinates, Fire Island. If you don't know the place, it's a strip of land off Long Island. Beachy, peaceful, filled with summer homes, pastel boardwalks, vacationing families, and people pretending their lives don't rot behind their Instagram filters. I'd been there once as a kid. Thought it was nice. Quiet. Too quiet now. The coordinates were locked on a private boat dock near Kismet, one of the older, more forgotten towns. My badge still had juice. Danny thought I was crazy, but she didn't stop me. We didn't tell the bureau. I chartered a private ferry using burner crypto, arrived just before dusk, dressed like some middle-aged divorcee on a solo soul-searching trip. I had a fake wedding ring and everything, played it off for the local captain who dropped me off without asking questions. I walked 5 minutes to the dock. That's when I noticed the mirrors, dozens of them, nailed to the trunks of trees. Old, warped hand mirrors, compact mirrors, makeup mirrors, even a full-length dressing mirror, cracked down the middle, all facing inward, toward this thicket of pine trees about 50 feet from the shore. I stepped between them. The pine needles under my boots didn't crunch. They squished, and then I saw it. A small white room, outdoors, a perfect cube made of plasterboard and plastic, no roof. Just 4 walls and a bed in the center. No doors, no windows. Graffiti scrawled all over the inside walls, and what looked like children's handwriting. I'm real now. Thank you, doctor. I earned my face. Stop the burning. Stop the stars. CSDX equals clean star. Dark experiment. The bed had restraints. Charred leather. One strap was still closed, fused to the metal, like someone burned their way out of it. I heard something shuffle behind the cube. I swear to God, my breath caught in my throat. I crept around the edge. There was a child standing there, back turned, short, maybe 10 years old, wearing a hospital gown, shaved head, and his arms bent the wrong way, like they'd been broken and reset backward at the elbows. He turned slowly. Face, blurry, not pixelated, like my eyes refused to focus on it. And his voice still gets under my skin. You can't take it back. He ran into the woods. I didn't follow. I couldn't. Instead, I approached the bed again, stomach twisted in a tight, sour knot. I didn't want to look beneath the mattress. I did anyway. What I found wasn't human. It was a mold. A latex cast of a child's face. Smooth, blank, featureless, except for tiny holes at the tear ducts, burn marks around the edge, like it had been stapled onto a living skull. Underneath that was a Polaroid 7 kids, all sitting in hospital beds, all smiling through stitched lips. I left the island at 3 a.m. I didn't sleep for 4 days. The image of those arms, the wrong angles, the jagged way the elbows curled towards the body like praying mantis limbs, haunted me like a drug withdrawal. I would hear soft tapping on my walls at night. I unplugged everything in my apartment, phone off, Wi-Fi router yanked out. Still, my Alexa turned on by itself and whispered, "Thank you for activating phase 3. I smashed it. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, 6 new barcoded bodies have surfaced, all in rivers, all in major cities. No news coverage, no police statements, just quiet removals, like they want us to ignore it. But I've been digging, and now I know what Project Childstar really is. It's not just a human experiment, it's manufacturing empathy. They're building artificial children, teaching them how to suffer, how to scream, how to feel pain in exactly the way a real kid would, not for war, not for torture, for entertainment. Because the dark web doesn't want porn anymore. They want stories, real pain, real trauma, real endings. They're training the dolls to act like victims in real-life horror movies. And someone, some collective, is rating them based on how believable their terror is. Project Childstar isn't a codename, it's a genre. And what I found next, I'll post it when I stop shaking. But just remember this, if you ever see a child staring at the reflection for too long, ask yourself this: do they blink? Because some of them don't. Some of them are waiting. The week after Fire Island felt like living inside a migraine. Light hurt. Silence hurt worse. I'd wake up at weird hours, heart pounding, with the sensation that something small and cold had just climbed off my bed and slipped under the floorboards. And every morning, without fail, at exactly 4:19 a.m., my phone would buzz, even though I'd shut it off, removed the SIM, and wrapped it in aluminum 1 notification. A single line of text, different number each time. Phase 3 rehearsal authorized. Proceed to location. There were coordinates attached, always leading somewhere new, like the city itself had become a scavenger hunt, run by something that wasn't human. I ignored the first one. I ignored the second. The third came with an attached image, not a doll, not one of the mannequin units. This was a photo of Danny, my partner, my friend. She was standing in a dark hallway, looking confused, like she didn't know the picture was being taken, her badge hanging off her belt, same clothes she wore the day before. But the timestamp? 2 hours into the future. I stopped trying to hide at that point. I followed the coordinates. The location was beneath the city, under one of those giant subway hubs that funnel 500,000 people a day through brightly lit tunnels, while the other half of the world rots quietly below them. I took the F train downtown, got off near a station I'd passed 1,000 times, the kind whose overhead lights always flickered like they were breathing. I walked to the far end of the platform, past the maintenance sign, past a wall plastered with peeling ads for cheap perfume, past a metal grate that rattled even when the air was still. Behind it, hidden in the shadows, was a door. Not a maintenance door, not anything official. It was a children's bedroom door, baby blue. Painted clouds, stickers of cartoon stars around the knob, and someone had bolted it into the concrete underground, like a joke only a psychopath would laugh at. My throat went dry. I pushed it open. Inside was a narrow staircase, leading down into blackness. No lights, no sound, no smell, until I hit the bottom. Then it hit me like a physical force. Artificial vanilla, not the cookie kind, not the candle kind, the factory kind, the sterile chemical sweet scent used in packaged toys and department store dolls. Cloying, wrong, like it was trying too hard to be comforting. The basement stretched wide, supported by tall concrete pillars wrapped with red tape, and in the middle of the room, lit by a single hanging floodlight, was a movie theater, but not the normal kind. There were no seats, just dozens of child-sized wheelchairs arranged in perfect rows. Every chair faced a huge white screen mounted to the wall, the type they used in school auditoriums back in the early 2000s. The wheels on the chairs were locked with metal clamps drilled into the floor. Some chairs had restraints. Some had padded helmets hanging from the side. One had a pacifier taped to the armrest. Every single chair was occupied, not by dolls, not by mannequins, by unfinished things. Half-built children, some with skin that looked too smooth, too stretched, some with faces that seemed sculpted but not painted, like the features were only sketched on and waiting to be finalized. Some with missing ears, some with blank eye sockets where the eyes hadn't been inserted yet. They were all completely still, every single one of them facing the blank white screen, waiting for it to turn on. I could hear something faint in the silence, breathing that wasn't mine. Then the projector hummed. The screen flickered, grainy, flickering like an old home movie. The footage showed a hospital corridor, white walls, polished floors, but no staff, no patients, just an endless empty hallway that stretched on and on like someone looped the clip but forgot to tell the camera. Then, slowly, a figure entered the frame, walking from the far end, small, barefoot, dragging their hand along the wall like they were counting tiles. As they got closer, the image sharpened. My blood froze. It was the kid from Fire Island, the one with the bent arms, the one who told me I couldn't take it back, but this time his face was perfectly clear. And it was mine, not similar, not a resemblance. My face, 10 years old, blank-eyed, expressionless, moving with the same slight limp I'd had after breaking my ankle in 6th grade. It stared into the camera, tilted its head, and smiled. Not the kind of smile someone makes, the kind of smile someone designed. Then the audio kicked in, not screaming, not crying, not anything loud, just a soft, rhythmic whisper. Phase 3, emotional sync, confirming subject baseline, synchronizing fear response, uploading mimicry profile. I backed away so fast, I tripped over the leg of one of the wheelchairs. The thing sitting in it jerked slightly, as if reacting to my panic like an echo. Then another one shifted, and another, heads tilting one by one, like flowers following sunlight. They were mirroring me, every one of them, breathing when I breathed, flinching when I flinched, staring with eyes that didn't blink but wanted to blink. The projector shut off, and in the sudden darkness, all I heard was the soft clicking of their joints as they leaned forward simultaneously. Dozens of tiny mechanisms resetting, getting ready, not to attack, not to scream, but to perform. Because I finally understood what this room was. It was a rehearsal stage, and I was the scene partner. I ran. I don't even remember climbing the steps. I don't remember bursting through that sky blue bedroom door. I don't remember getting back onto the platform or blending into the crowd that poured off the next train. But I do remember what happened that night when I finally made it home. My TV turned on by itself. My living room flooded with white light. A message appeared on the screen. Black text, clean font. Same as the Project ChildStar site. Subject response logged. Rehearsal grade. Acceptable. The children are ready for Phase 4. We will contact you soon. Please leave your doors unlocked. Then the TV powered off, and something small and soft tapped the inside of my bedroom wall. Once, twice, 3 times, like tiny knuckles, like a child knocking from behind the drywall. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, listening. And the worst part, the part that still makes my skin crawl, even writing this, the tapping wasn't trying to get in. It was trying to get my attention, like it already was inside the walls, just waiting for the signal to come out. If anything in your house knocks tonight, don't answer it. The tapping in my walls didn't stop. 3 nights straight, always between 1 and 3 a.m. Always soft, always deliberate, like fingertips learning rhythm. By night 4, the taps weren't isolated strokes anymore. They came in sequences, like code. First slow, then faster, then with pauses, like someone behind the drywall was thinking between each pattern. I'd sit on the edge of my bed, staring at the plaster, counting the beats, trying to match them to anything I knew. Morse, heart rate patterns, memory cues. Nothing fit. They weren't communicating. They were practicing, training their timing, training their performance, training for me. On the 5th night, the pattern changed. Not finger taps, but something dragging along the wooden beams inside the wall. A slow, delicate scrape, sliding from one corner of my room to the other, like whoever was back there was mapping the space. By touch, I didn't sleep. By morning, I'd convinced myself I couldn't stay in the apartment. I packed a duffel with clothes and the essentials. When I opened the door to leave, there was a package waiting, a cube-shaped box, brown paper, no return address, stamped with a barcode, CSDX-NEWCAST-009. Not the same ID from the river bodies. A new unit. I didn't want to touch it. Breathing near it felt dangerous. But when something wants to be found, it waits for you. I took the box inside, placed it on my kitchen table, and stepped back like it might unfold into something alive. It didn't move, but it made a sound, a faint, rhythmic ticking, the kind you hear from a toy that's winding itself up. I grabbed a knife, cut the tape, and peeled back the flaps. Inside, surrounded by white packing foam, lay an envelope. Heavy, thick, paper textured like old wallpaper from a 1960s children's ward. I lifted it by the corner. Inside were printed pages, medical forms, psychological reports, photos, and one sentence at the top of every page. Project Child Star, Phase 4, Environmental Breeding Analysis. I spread them across the table. What I read felt like someone reached into my skull and squeezed my brain with an ice-cold hand. Phase 4 wasn't about dolls, or mannequins, or artificial children watching screens. Phase 4 was about integration, installing units into real living spaces, slipstreaming them into everyday environments, seeing how families reacted when something childlike behaved slightly off, and how long it took before someone noticed the difference. There were test logs from homes in Brooklyn, Toronto, Naples, Kyoto, Johannesburg, Santiago, families chosen at random units, planted accidentally, an analysis running for months. None of the logs ever mentioned removal. None said whether the families realized what was living with them. All of them used the same phrase. Subject accepted as organic after 9 to 14 days. Unit's incomplete affect went unnoticed. Integration scored high. I kept reading. Then I saw the page that hollowed out my stomach. A photo, taken from above. Night vision green. Someone, a silhouette, maybe 6 years old, standing beside a bed in a dark room, head tilted too far to one side. watching the sleeping person curled under the blankets. Caption: NYC, Integration Candidate Number 44. Resident scan successful. Environment approved for breeding. And beneath that image, a photo of my apartment floor plan, highlighted in red, bedroom walls circled, the walls where the tapping happened, where something was practicing timing. My name printed at the top, candidate number 44, approved. I dropped the file and stepped back so fast I nearly slipped. I looked towards my bedroom door, still closed, still quiet. I remember whispering to myself, they're not in the walls, they're getting ready. I needed to know how far this went. I needed answers from someone inside the project, someone who made these things, built them, installed them. I called Danny, except it wasn't her who answered. The line connected, but instead of her voice, I heard something like a room full of old ventilators, soft mechanical breathing, dozens of units inhaling and exhaling at different tempos. Then a voice, calm, familiar, the same voice from the Fire Island audio file. You open the package. Good. Integration begins faster when the subject is informed. My throat closed. I forced out a whisper. Where's Danny? There was a long pause. Then the voice said, look behind you. I didn't turn. Everything inside me froze. My skin prickled. The air in the apartment shifted. A subtle displacement, like something small had just entered the room and was waiting for me to acknowledge it. I hung up the phone. I didn't breathe. For 3 minutes, nothing moved. Nothing touched me. Nothing made a sound. When I finally turned around, there was nothing. No one. But the bedroom door, which I knew had been closed, was now open by an inch. Just wide enough for something small to slip through. I stepped closer. The gap widened. Just a little. Like breath pushing it open. Not a human breath. A measured, mechanical, inexact one. The way a machine imitates life without truly understanding it. My chest tightened. I pressed my ear to the doorway, and from somewhere inside the dark room, beneath the floorboards, I heard a child humming, off-key, learning the tune, repeating, correcting, practicing, training itself to sound emotional, training itself to sound real, training itself to enter the house, not through the door, but through the spaces between the walls. I shut the door and shoved my dresser against it. It didn't help. The humming continued, layered with soft tapping, and something else. Something like a small hand pressing flat against the drywall from the inside, feeling for the weak spots, feeling for the moment it would come out. I left the apartment that night. I haven't gone back since, but the file from the box, the one page I wish I never saw, the page with the timeline, the prediction, the line that stated, full breach of residential environment, expected between days 13 to 16. Candidate number 44, scheduled for Phase 5 activation. Do not interfere. Today is day 15. The humming hasn't stopped, and I'm starting to hear it, even when I'm nowhere near home. Like it followed me, like it learned my rhythm, like it memorized my breathing patterns, like it's waiting for me to let it finish what it was built to do. But don't ask unless you're ready, because Phase 5 doesn't start with tapping. It starts with something much, much closer. There's no language for what it's like to forget you're real, to stand in front of a mirror, searching your own reflection for tells, ticks, glitches, something that betrays the possibility that maybe you're just another build, another unit. It's been 22 days since I opened the box, and I don't know if I was supposed to survive this long. The file said day 16 was the breach. They lied. The breach wasn't physical. It wasn't about something entering my space. It was about displacement, about removing me from my own life and sliding something else in, not to replace me, but to rehearse me. I woke up in a hotel in Queens 4 days ago, sweat-soaked, shaky, the kind of sweat that smells like hospital disinfectant, even when you haven't moved. TV was on, static. I didn't turn it on. I unplugged it. It stayed on. Then the static formed a word. Just one. Casting. And I knew. Phase 5 had started. You don't cast a show without a script. You don't run a script without actors. You don't audition actors without a stage. I needed to find the final stage. I checked the source files from the box again. There was one folder I hadn't touched. It was encrypted with a biometric lock. Retina scan, voice match, DNA sequence. The sequence was my own how. They didn't just observe me. They mirrored me, mapped me down to the chemical level, simulated my saliva viscosity, matched my retinal pattern based on photos I'd never taken, perfected my vocal tone. They'd been building a replacement for me this entire time. A child-sized duplicate, not a clone, not a mannequin or performance shell, one designed to outhuman the original. When I finally cracked the folder, the contents were exactly what I feared. A dossier marked Jack Primary Cast Profile, a 3D render of my apartment rebuilt in Unreal Engine A, timeline titled Emotional Deconstruction in 9 Acts, and a zip folder labeled Live Demo Footage. I opened the video. It started in a school hallway, empty, linoleum glistening like ice, locker doors partially open, someone's shoes squeaking faintly in the distance, slow, unnatural, like they were playing a character they didn't understand. The camera turned a corner. There I was, 12 years old, sitting cross-legged on the floor, backpack in my lap, looking directly into the lens with my own eyes. But the expression was wrong, too accurate, like someone had studied hundreds of home videos to extract every micro-reaction and pasted them together with surgical exactness. I spoke, but the voice didn't come from my mouth. It came from the speakers of my laptop, and behind it, faintly, children laughing, not joyfully, artificially, like a laugh track used too many times in a cheap sitcom. The footage cut. Now a hospital room. An old man hooked to machines. I recognized the bed. Same one my dad died in. Same position. Same tilt of the head. But in the bed was me. Grown. 40. 50. Pale. Still wires running from my temples into a mounted box that read Phase 5. Simulcast. Observation only. There were children in the room. At least they wore the shape of children. One girl, maybe 8 years old, sat at the edge of the bed, swinging her legs. But her face, it was a smooth mold, lightly painted with my mother's expression from an old family photo. A boy leaned in from the left. He whispered into the ear of the me on the bed. I strained to hear the words. My speakers hissed, then stabilized. You don't need the real anymore. We're better at being you than you are. I paused the video. I couldn't feel my hands. My fingers looked disconnected, like they didn't belong to me. My webcam light clicked on. I hadn't touched it. The screen went black. Then an image appeared. Not live footage, not surveillance. It was a rendered stage, black floor, spotlights, and in the middle, a chair. My chair. Sitting on it, facing forward, smiling faintly, was me, but younger. Darker eyes. A tilt to the neck I'd never seen in myself. Then he blinked. 3 times. Long. Slow. like he'd just learned how they weren't building a replacement. They were training a cast, and I wasn't the lead. I was the source material. They were rehearsing every moment of my life, from childhood to death, performing it over and over, testing it in front of observers, grading its emotional truth, and every failed version they discarded. I found the final address buried in the metadata of the demo folder, just coordinates, no name. It led to a warehouse on the outskirts of Newark. I drove there on instinct. No plan, no backup. There was no sign outside, no markings, no doors. Just a hatch in the ground, bolted shut with childproof locks. I pried it open, descended. What I found shouldn't exist. A studio lot, built underground, perfectly lit, staged rooms, school hallway, living room, doctor's office, basement, each one occupied by a different version of me, some older, some younger, some half-finished, all performing scenes, silent, precise, perfect. One cried in a bedroom, miming a breakdown I remembered having at 17. Another reenacted my first panic attack in a Walmart parking lot at age 24. A smaller one pretended to wake from a nightmare, but it was the final room that broke me, a nursery, and inside, cradled in a pale blue bassinet, was an infant, still, sleeping, wrapped in a hospital blanket with a tag that read CSDX-044. Jack, newborn model, final draft. Approved for public emotional immersion. Beta launch. Coming soon to Marionette. Plus, I collapsed. This wasn't a game, not a government program, not an ARG or viral horror puzzle. This was a subscription service, a streaming platform for grief, a live theater of human pain, cast with simulations. Every moment, every tragedy, every tiny failure, all perfectly performed by disposable child actors, built in my image. I left that place and sealed the hatch. I should have burned it, but I couldn't, because I saw my own face in too many places, too many drafts, and some of them looked better than me. I haven't been followed, at least not by people, but every time I walk past reflective glass, storefronts, bus windows, subway tiles, I catch a glimpse of something watching me. Same height, same build, same expression, and it never blinks, because it already learned how. So here's the truth. They don't take your life. They don't kill you, or replace you, or erase you. They perform you, better than you ever did. And when the audience claps, you vanish, because no one wants the original when the copy is perfect. End of file. Subject 044. Performance. Concluded. Integration rating 98.3%. Authenticity score. High public deployment. Green lit Marionette. Plus streaming. Tomorrow's pain. Today. Terminal playback complete. Please return headset to attendant and proceed to sterilization chamber. Thank you for participating in the Child Star Beta experience. Do not search for the hatch. Do not ask about the stream. And above all, if you see someone wearing your face, don't look away. They'll need you to blink first. They told us the pole was empty on the dark web. We broke in. What we found inside that frozen facility wasn't abandoned. It was waiting. Yo, okay, before I start this, let me just say, I know how it sounds. Dark web, abandoned building. Me and my dumbass friends broke in. I get it. It sounds like a mid-budget horror movie from 2015 that somehow got 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. But this happened to me in 2022, and I can't sleep without locking every window, unplugging everything with a camera, and listening to static. If you don't believe me, fine, but I need to get this off my chest, just in case it comes back. Anyway, here's how it started. It was like 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was scrolling through Reddit on my second monitor, casually losing brain cells watching TikTok edits of Breaking Bad on my phone. You know the ones. I had my usual setup, empty Taco Bell wrappers, Discord open, Spotify blasting that weird liminal core playlist that's like distorted mall music from the 90s, just vibing in that modern existential dread kinda way. Then my buddy Kai hits me up on Discord. Just the classic. Yo, you trying to see something fucked? Now, we do this thing. Me, Kai, and Juno, where we dare each other to find the sketchiest, most messed up corner of the internet and screen share it. Not gore or anything illegal. We're not psychos, but weird forums, cursed YouTube rabbit holes, simulation theory TikToks, weird ass 2010 Minecraft videos with voices in the background. You know, late night internet dares. But that night, Kai sent me something different. It was a link to this super bare bones tour site. Looked like Craigslist, if Craigslist got lobotomized and pushed through Windows 98 black background, neon green text, just one page. The title said, Unclaimed Government Arctic Site, Private Ownership, Transfer, The Poll, Opening Cell. Underneath was a single button, See Inside, Live Feed. There was no branding, no contact info, no terms or conditions, just that. Me and Kai were on call like, yo, what the hell is this? And of course, we clicked it. The live feed popped up instantly. No buffering. The quality was weirdly good, like too good. 60 frames per second. Full HD. No watermark. It looked like it was coming from a security camera inside some massive, freezing cold underground facility. Like one of those bunkers you see in Call of Duty. But cleaner. Sterile. Rows of white walls. Giant chrome doors labeled with numbers. Everything lit with this creepy blue-white fluorescent glow that made the shadows super sharp. And here's the part that chilled me. Every 20 seconds, the camera would pan, automatically, like it was programmed, just slow and steady, left to right, then back, but nothing moved, not a single flicker, until about a minute in, this thing passed by, just the briefest flicker of shadow, too fast, could have been a glitch, could have been a rat, but the camera paused, just froze mid-pan, and then it tilted, not side to side, upward, like it was looking for something above it. Then it cut to black. No buffering, no connection lost, just instant static. Then the button came back, but it changed. Now it said, you saw it, you want in. Me, Kai, and Juno were freaking the hell out in our group chat. Juno's like, this is fake, it's just an ARG, or marketing for a movie or something. But I could tell even she was a little spooked. I should have clicked off. I should have closed Tor and gone back to watching dumb TikToks of Shrek whispering in Minecraft caves. But curiosity, bro, it's like a drug when you're 22, broke, and your only thrill is seeing how close to the void you can stare without blinking. I clicked again. Now the site had a form. 3 people, 1 night, remote entry provided, document everything, no live streaming, no contact after arrival, compensation, $125,000 per person, one-time access. We laughed, like actually laughed out loud. Oh sure, just break into an unlisted Arctic lab for 6 figures, no big deal. We joked about how we'd make a TikTok out of it. POV. You and your friends get murdered by some CIA frost demon for clout. But then, I scrolled to the bottom of the page. There was a countdown. 00:37:59. And under that, Accept and get coordinates. You have 12 hours to get on the plane. No second offers. Now I know what you're thinking. Why the hell would we say yes? And I don't have a good answer. It was one part, this is fake, it's gotta be. One part, we're bored as hell. And one part, something deeper. Something about that camera feed, the way it looked up. That's what did it for me. Cameras don't look up. I hit accept. Instantly, the screen flickered and spit out a file. Inside, coordinates, a PDF with boarding passes, real ones, for a private airstrip in Alaska. My name was on it, Juno's, Kai's. The flight left in 10 hours. My heart was thundering. Juno was already yelling on the mic like, dude, what the actual? This is identity theft level stuff. But it wasn't. The tickets worked. The passports matched. And when we got to the gate the next day, because yeah, we fucking went, there was a guy waiting, dressed like he worked at Apple and Homeland Security at the same time. No badge, no name, just nodded at us and said, this way. The private plane wasn't flashy. It looked more like a FedEx jet. Loud, cold, smelled like bleach and burned coffee. No flight attendants, no seats really, just jump seats with harnesses. 4 hours later, we touched down. No airport, no building, just a metal platform in the middle of an endless ice field with one elevator dead center. Lights blinking red like a heartbeat. The guy handed us each a black parka and said the first words he'd spoken in hours. Do not talk to it. We laughed. We shouldn't have laughed. We hadn't even seen the thing yet. And the pole was already listening. The elevator dropped without sound. No hum, no gears, just a sudden pull, like gravity had been yanked from under us. My stomach hovered in my throat the way it does on roller coasters, but slower, drawn out, like the descent itself didn't want to end. It was pitch black in the shaft, save for the red emergency bulb inside. It made everything look soaked in blood. Juno was sitting across from me, her eyes wide, not blinking. Kai was gripping one of the rails with both hands, knuckles white. None of us spoke. The silence was physical. After maybe 2 minutes, maybe longer, it was hard to tell time in that damn thing. The elevator stopped with a sudden jolt. The door hissed open. That smell. It hit like hot rot, even though the air was freezing. Imagine bleach and raw meat and hospital bandages soaked in something thick, sweet, almost. Like something dead had been preserved instead of decomposed. The hallway stretched out ahead, glowing blue and white. No signs, just white metal walls, frost clinging to the edges of the seams. Every 10 feet, another dome camera blinked in the ceiling, tracking, not following, tracking. The moment our boots hit the floor, that same camera system we'd seen on the live feed before kicked in. Slow pan, then tilt, then it paused, just for a second, before it twitched and turned away. We walked, not because we knew where we were going, we didn't, but because standing still felt like begging for something to find us. The floor was metal, ridged, but the walls had no bolts, no seams, just seamless slabs, like they'd been poured into shape, almost like the place hadn't been built, more like it was grown. We passed doors, tall, sealed ones, marked with black numbers on glassy panels, each one humming softly. Not electronic hum, no, organic, like something inside them was breathing slow, dormant. Every now and then, the panels would flicker, not glitch, flicker, like static through your vision, except your eyes never moved. At door 07, Juno said she heard something behind it. A voice, not a scream, not words, not even a whisper, just humming, like a lullaby through water. Kai leaned in close. His breath fogged the panel. It responded, lighting up dimly, with his face mirrored in the black. And that's when we saw it. Behind his reflection, another face. Pale, wide, no lips, just a mouthful of gray, like mold, like crumbling paper soaked in bile. And it was smiling. Kai flinched back so hard he nearly slipped, and the door went dark again. We ran, turned a corner, another hallway, this one narrower. The lights overhead buzzed like they were alive. That's when we noticed the first claw marks, long, deep gouges running down the walls and floor, like something was dragged backwards, fighting. There were dried stains, deep, rust red, spattered and smeared along the lower half of the corridor, as if someone or something was trying to crawl away and got pulled back. There were prints, not boot prints, not paws, bare feet, human, but too long, 6 toes, each step pressed so hard into the blood that it cracked the frost. I wanted to turn back. Juno wanted to throw up. Kai? He pulled out his phone, tried to record. I told him to stop, but he already had it filming. He aimed the camera toward the hallway behind us, just to see, and he said, "What the fuck is that?" We all looked. Nothing was there, but on his screen, movement, in the hallway, fast, like a shadow running on all fours, scraping the walls. And then, the phone froze, like it was bricked. The video app crashed, and when he reopened it, the clip was gone, deleted, no trace, just static on his gallery screen. And through the static, a frame, one single frozen image, us, standing there, in the hallway. But the hallway behind us in the picture wasn't empty. Something stood in the far end, bent, long arms, head cocked sideways. Too many fingers pressed flat against the ceiling, like it was watching from above. The hallway lights flickered. We didn't speak. We ran. No plan, no direction, just full sprint into the cold. The hole started sloping downward. The temperature dropped instantly. My lungs started to freeze with every breath, like inhaling glass. We passed what looked like a shattered glass window, only from the inside. Glass shards frozen mid-air, like they'd been blown outward by something bursting from the room. Inside was pitch black, but on the floor, footprints, not human. They looked like hooves, but sideways, and too many. We turned another corner and found the bunk room. Beds, real beds, triple stacked metal frames, all of them neatly made, crisp sheets, pillows fluffed, and over every bed, a mirror, but not one of them showed a reflection. Not ours, not the room, nothing. Juno stared into one, and the mirror blinked, like a lid closing. Then a whisper, right in my ear. "Don't let her fall asleep." I spun around. No one was there. Juno sat on one of the beds, dazed. She blinked like she'd just come out of a dream. I said her name. She didn't respond. Kai shook her, hard. She snapped awake and screamed, said she was inside the mirror. She said we weren't moving, said we were frozen, stuck in a loop, like statues, while something watched her, circling, laughing. Its voice sounded like a dial-up modem, and a baby monitor played backwards. We dragged her out. She kept crying, mumbling something over and over. "Don't blink, don't blink, don't blink." We kept moving. Eventually we hit the central chamber, and God, I'll never forget what I saw. It was massive. A circular room, maybe the size of a football field. Walls made of black glass. In the middle, a pit. A massive pulsing hole in the floor, edged with jagged steel like teeth. Inside it, meat. Not alive. Not dead. It looked like muscle tissue, stretched, wrapped around bone and cables, twisting like roots down into the black. And at the center, there was a face. Not a head, Just a face, skin pulled tight over machinery, eyes wide open. It was watching us. It wasn't surprised we were there. It had been waiting. That's when the alarms went off. No sirens, no flashing lights, just one voice, flat, robotic, childlike. Specimens breached, testing protocol, active, prepare for observation. Doors slammed shut behind us. The room got colder, the lights dimmed, then shifted. Now the face in the pit was lit from below, and then it smiled. Kai ran to the edge of the platform. He yelled something, cursed at it, and the face replied, not with sound, with a copy of his voice from behind us. Perfect mimicry. We turned, and there was another Kai standing at the edge of the room, but his eyes, solid black, mouth open too wide, skin twitching like it was wearing him wrong. It stepped toward us, crackling with every movement. We ran again, through an exit tunnel. Only now, the doors were wrong. The lights were pulsing like a heartbeat. The walls were no longer metal. They were breathing, and something crawled in the ceiling, tracking us, scratching, whispering with our own voices. We shouldn't have come. We weren't exploring. We were being watched. We were the experiment, and the pole wasn't abandoned. It was never meant to be found. And the worst part, when we finally found the exit tunnel, there were more beds, hundreds of them, all of them occupied sleeping, or pretending to, and one of them had my name stitched into the blanket. The body inside was breathing, slow, and it was smiling. The row of beds felt endless, the way nightmares stretch rooms longer than they should exist. Every bunk carried a human shape under a blanket, shadows breathing slow, careful breaths, all perfectly in sync, like they'd rehearsed it, like they were waiting for a cue we didn't want to hear. The one with my name stitched into the corner was closest. I couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't breathe. The blanket rose and fell, as if the body underneath lived on a rhythm older than pulse, older than lungs. Every exhale came out faintly visible, like cold fog drifting from beneath the fabric, even though the room was growing warmer. With every second, Juno stepped backward until she hit the metal wall. Kai just stared, jaw hanging open like his mind was stuttering, not crashing, trying to process, then trying again, then failing. Something shifted beneath my blanket. Not a twitch, not a jerk. A slow, deliberate adjustment. Like someone rolling their shoulders awake, I backed away. My heel hit a metal tray on the floor. It toppled over with a clang that echoed down the chamber like an alarm bell. And all the beds inhaled at once, like a classroom of kids gasping in unison. My ears rang from it. One huge breath pulled in from hundreds of bodies at the exact same moment. A sound so synchronized it didn't feel human. Then they held their breath. The entire room went silent, like the building itself had paused to listen. A low crackle pushed through the speakers overhead, like an old intercom flipping on in a dead school during winter break. Then a voice whispered through, distorted, mechanical, stitched together from samples, like they'd cut sentences from forgotten voicemails and pasted them end to end. Rise protocol triggered. The beds exhaled, not peacefully, not naturally. It sounded like one giant sigh made from too many throats. The blankets began to shift, not fast, not sudden. The way caterpillars push out of cocoons, slow, searching, testing the air first. One of the sleepers, closest to the aisle, let its arm slip from beneath the blanket. Pale, thin, too thin. The fingers were long, but they didn't bend right. The joints were arranged wrong, like a 3D model, Someone assembled without understanding anatomy. The hand flexed. It wasn't waking. It was checking itself, like it had never moved before. Juno grabbed my sleeve hard enough to pinch skin. "We need to go," she whispered, and I could hear her pulse in her voice. Rapid, uneven, a thin thread pulling tighter with each second. Kai didn't move. He was staring deeper into the rows, where some of the figures were already sitting up under their sheets, pressing fabric tight around their silhouettes until they looked like statues draped for storage. Then one of them turned its head, under the sheet, slow, toward us. We didn't need to see the face to know whatever was under that blanket wasn't supposed to have a direction to turn toward, not something that had been lying still for who knows how long. We bolted. The hallway waiting outside didn't look right anymore. The lights flickered red, then white, then something in between, like the bulbs were trying to replicate sunlight from memory, but had never seen it. Behind us, the beds began to creak. One, then another, then a chain reaction of metal groaning underweight. Running was instinct, but the hall wasn't empty. Halfway down, the floor trembled, just faintly, like a vibration under our boots. Then again, stronger. A soft, rapid tap, tap, tap. Too light to be footsteps, but too purposeful to be random. We froze. The tapping came from behind the walls, inside them, like someone crawling through the narrow space between the metal plates and the insulation, palms slapping in a rhythmic pattern, fingertips dragging. The walls bulged tiny fractions with each tap, like the metal had suddenly grown thin as paper. Juno clamped a hand on her mouth. Kai swore under his breath, his voice shaking. Then the tapping stopped. A moment of quiet. Then a whisper breathed directly into my ear. "Why did you wake us?" I spun around so fast my vision blurred. Nothing was behind me. Nothing was anywhere near. But the question echoed faintly down the corridor, like it repeated itself inside the ventilation ducts, bouncing back warped and wrong. We sprinted, turned a corner, and collided with another chamber. This one was different. Cleaner, colder. Rows of glass containers filled the room, tall cylinders fogged from the inside, each one pulsing faintly with some kind of internal heartbeat glow. Kai wiped frost off the nearest tube. Inside was a person, floating upright, eyes closed, perfectly still, suspended in some kind of cloudy liquid with thin cables threaded under their skin like veins made of wires. The shape in the next tube? Same face, same build, same hair. Like the tubes held rewound copies of the same person, save for differences so tiny our minds didn't register them until we looked longer. One had faint scars. One had longer hair. One had a smile stretched too wide, even asleep. Every tube contained a version of the same man, and he looked exactly like the guy who met us at the plane. Kai backed away, whispering, "No, no, no, no," like a chant to keep himself conscious. Then something hammered against the far wall. Once, twice, 3 times. Each hit louder than the last, metal denting outward like whatever was behind it wanted through badly enough to deform steel an inch thick. The dents grew larger. The wall groaned. Something scraped on the other side, huge and slow, its claws drawing sound like a jagged blade dragged across glass. Juno grabbed my shoulder. "Move! Move!" We tore out of the chamber and into a wider corridor that sloped downward. The lights here weren't flickering. They were dead. Only tiny emergency strips glowed along the baseboards, casting long shadows behind us that didn't match our movements. Kai tripped halfway down the slope and skidded onto a metal grate. He hissed in pain, but stood again, then froze. Under the grate, was another room, small, white, empty, except for one object, a chair, and strapped to it, arms bound, legs tied, head locked in place, was a woman who looked exactly like Juno. Exactly. Same hair, same height, same face. Even the scar on her eyebrow she got from slipping on ice in Chicago last winter. But this version, her eyes were open, and she was looking right at us, not begging, not scared, just waiting. Juno grabbed my arm with a force I didn't think she had. Her knees buckled. A broken sound fell out of her throat, like something deep inside her cracked open. The Juno in the chair didn't move. She just breathed, slow, calm, like she'd been waiting for our version of her to arrive. Kai leaned closer through the grate, whispering, "What? What is that? What the hell is that?" The bound Juno opened her mouth. The sound that came out wasn't speech. It was a choked, gurgling static, like someone trying to speak through water and chewing glass at the same time. But the shape of her lips, she was forming words. Put her back. Juno stumbled away from the grate, nearly falling over. Tears streamed down her face. She didn't wipe them. The lights down the corridor flicked on, one after another, leading deeper underground, like runway lights guiding a plane toward a crash. The intercom clicked again. Containment breach. Section Theta. Redirect specimens to lower hall. Begin retrieval. Retrieval. They weren't talking about the clones. They meant us. And something was coming. From behind. From ahead. From inside the walls. From the ceiling. You could hear it now. Layers of footsteps. Some slow, scraping. Some soft and rapid. Some heavy enough to rattle dust from the vents. This wasn't an abandoned research station. This was a hatchery, a factory, a place that didn't create monsters. It recycled people, and we had already seen too much. As we ran deeper into the dark, something grabbed the grate behind us and ripped it upward like it was foil. Metal shrieked. Bolts snapped. The Juno strapped below wasn't in the chair anymore. The straps were empty, and she was gone. We didn't choose to go deeper. The facility pulled us. Every hallway angled downward, like a funnel dragging waste into something ancient and hungry. The doors sealed behind us, with heavy hydraulic slams that echoed like war drums, each one snuffing out any path back towards the surface. Juno couldn't even speak anymore. Her voice was just dry air stuttering from her throat, like she'd swallowed too many screams, and they'd tangled her vocal cords. Kai was bleeding. His leg got sliced by a broken panel during the last sprint. It soaked through his jeans dark and fast, but we didn't dare stop. The walls had started sweating, literally. Moisture bled from every seam, thick and sticky like syrup. It smelled like copper and burnt sugar. It wasn't condensation. It wasn't water. It was something the building was leaking on purpose. We turned a corner and found ourselves in a stairwell that looked wrong, not like the rest of the sleek, sterile design. This looked older. Concrete, rusted metal rails, yellowed fluorescent bulbs flickering like they'd been installed in the 70s and never changed. And the steps, they were covered in shoes, pairs, singles, kids' sneakers, business heels, combat boots, scattered. Some had blood on them, some were melted. All of them were facing downward, like people had walked into the dark and left them behind voluntarily. Juno stepped over a baby's shoe, with her entire body shaking. She didn't ask questions anymore. She just followed. At the bottom of the stairs, we hit the next chamber, and I don't even know how to describe this room. It felt like a crime scene, and a funeral, and a museum, all stitched into one. Hundreds of vertical metal drawers, like morgue trays, but larger, each marked with a code. No names, just combinations of letters and numbers that looked randomized. We opened one. We shouldn't have. Inside was a body fresh. No decay, no smell, but wrong in every possible way. Its face was split down the middle like a zipper had been installed from the scalp to the chin and unzipped, but instead of organs or a skull, there was a mass of data cables and pulsing organic tubes that fed back into the tray behind it, like it had been plugged into something before we arrived. Its eyes were still wet and looking up, alive, just frozen. Kai backed away and tripped into the next drawer. It slid open with a hiss. Inside was him. Not a look-alike, not a clone. Him. Same clothes, same haircut, same scar on his chin from a bike accident in 5th grade, except this version had his mouth sewn shut and ears removed, smooth skin where his hearing should have been. Dried blood ringed the seams of his lips, like they'd been sewn for a long time. Kai dropped to his knees. He didn't scream. He couldn't. His breath just caught in his chest, like a blade. The body in the drawer blinked, then started chewing through the stitches. One thread snapped, then another, then another. Slowly, agonizingly slow, red fluid spilled down its chin as it mouthed something. Kai leaned in, and it said, "I'm the one that made it out." I pulled him away before he could answer. Juno had already started sobbing. A monitor in the corner blinked to life. It showed a diagram. Us, our bodies, vitals, cognitive readouts, labels, but not our names. Primary substrate A, B, C. Next to them, storage queued, awaiting upload. It wasn't killing us. It was saving us, or pieces of us, our data, our memories, our shapes, to be copied, to be improved. This wasn't a lab. This was a template farm. We weren't guests. We were raw material. Then the lights cut, and in that second of darkness, a sound poured in from the ducts overhead. Clicking. Not claws, not tools. Teeth. Thousands of them. Rattling, grinding, clattering in unison like someone had dropped a bag of dentures from the ceiling, and they started crawling toward us. With intention, we ran down another hall. Every door we passed had a name now. Real names. People we'd seen online. TikTok influencers, Twitch streamers, missing persons. Names that had popped up for a week, gone viral, and then vanished. Lauren from Toronto, Darius Woods, Yui_M00N. Primed. Extraction complete. We turned a corner, and the walls were glass. Behind them, faces, pressed against the windows, grinning. Not like smiles. Grinning like they didn't know what it meant. Teeth too many. Eyes too round. Tongues moving constantly in circles, like they were trying to learn how to use them. They were naked and wrapped in wires, and every single one looked like someone famous from somewhere. One of them looked like my cousin. Another looked like the YouTube beauty guru who'd gone missing last year. I swear to God, we'd all watched the documentary on her disappearance, and now her clone was here, smiling through the glass, watching us, mimicking us. When I looked close, she was trying to walk, over and over, but her knees bent the wrong way, like she'd seen walking before, but never learned how it worked. Kai screamed when his clone appeared on the next screen. Then it spoke, through the glass. No audio, just mouthed the words. "How do you feel, knowing I'll live longer?" We kept running until we hit the feeding floor. That's what the sign said, just a rusted placard overhead. Feeding floor, composite cycle. It was a warehouse of open pits, and inside each, A body mangled, some missing limbs, some stripped of skin, but not dead. Every one of them was breathing shallow, as if they couldn't scream anymore, but still hadn't been allowed to die. Machines moved overhead, spindly arms dipping into the pits with metal needles and tubes that burrowed into the soft parts of the bodies, necks, spines, hips, extracting something, harvesting. Some pits held mouths only, mouths growing from walls, lipless, always chewing. Some smiled, some whispered, some chanted numbers, and then one of them said my full name, out loud, from 50 feet away. The mouth didn't have lungs, but it knew me, knew my birth date, knew my mom's voice, knew what I'd said in a Discord call last week. Every second we stayed, the place knew more about us, more than we remembered ourselves. Juno collapsed, her nose bleeding. She started muttering things I didn't recognize, things she'd never heard before: equations, names of stars, coordinates, 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 over and over, like something was uploading into her. We had to leave her. I'm not proud of it, but we had to. She stopped blinking. She just sat there, eyes wide, smiling at the wall like it was her favorite song. Kai dragged me down the last corridor. We found the freight lift, not the one we came down in. This one was ancient, manual, rust-covered. It reeked of ammonia and metal. There was a panel beside it with 3 buttons: top, middle, bottom. Only the bottom button worked. We didn't press it. It pressed itself, and the gate opened, waiting. The lift dropped so slowly that I thought it wasn't moving at all. No hum, no vibration, no sound except my own heartbeat thudding through my skull like a fist pounding on a locked door. Kai and I stood pressed against opposite walls of the metal cage, our breath fogging the air in thin, uneven wisps. The floor indicator didn't light up. There was no panel, no emergency latch, no wiring, just iron, cold enough to burn skin. The deeper we went, the warmer it became. Not comforting warm, but a dense, humid heat, like standing too close to a server rack that's been running for 10 years straight. Then the elevator stopped. No ding, no warning. The gate rattled open on its own, and the bottom floor greeted us with silence so thick it felt like a substance. The air was warmer, but it carried no scent, no movement, no texture. It was blank air, manufactured, scrubbed clean. A long corridor stretched ahead. No flickering lights, no alarms, no stains, no signs of life at all, just emptiness. The emptiness felt arranged. Kai whispered, "If we die down here, no one even knows we were born." That sentence should have felt dramatic, or unhinged, or panicked. It didn't. It felt accurate. We walked. The deeper we went, the more wrong the architecture became. Walls that should have been straight began curving inward gently, then outward, like the hallway was breathing. The floor wasn't metal anymore. It was some kind of synthetic paneling that had a faint give under our boots, like stepping on a padded gym floor. But it never made a sound. No echo, no footsteps, just the low hum of the air. At the end of the hallway stood a door unlike any in the facility. Not steel, not glass. It looked like wood, dark, polished, with a brass handle. A single plaque read, "Source." Kai grabbed my wrist with ice-cold fingers. "We shouldn't open it." His voice was so faint, I almost didn't hear it. The door opened anyway. Not by my hand, not by his. Just opened. Like something on the other side had been waiting for us to hesitate. Inside was a massive circular chamber, and in the middle, a chair. Not a lab chair, not a torture chair, a normal chair. Wooden. Something you'd see in a suburban dining room, too ordinary for a place like this. Sitting in it was a person, or almost a person. It wore clothes that looked assembled from memory, jeans, a hoodie, sneakers, but none of them moved naturally. The fabric didn't crease correctly. The folds were too stiff, like someone modeled them out of wax. The figure had no face, not blank, just unfinished. A faint outline where a mouth should be. Dark impressions where eyes were supposed to sit, like an artist stopped halfway through sculpting a human. And behind it, the walls were filled with screens, hundreds, stacked to the ceiling, all playing footage of the world. Normal places, normal people, Starbucks lines, airports, McDonald's parking lots, random TikTok lives, Twitch streams, subway stations, hotel lobbies, Instagram stories, news broadcasts, dash cams, live streams from influencers, security feeds from places I recognized. Every screen showed the world going on as if nothing beneath the ice existed. Then the faceless thing spoke, not with a mouth, not with sound, with air. The room vibrated faintly, and words bloomed in the space between us, flat and emotionless, like subtitles burned into reality. You see your reflections, but we do the remembering. Kai stumbled backward. What? What does that mean? The figure turned its head, slowly, like it was moving through syrup, and the impressions of eyes faced him. A screen behind the figure changed. Security footage of Kai, 5 years ago, laughing at a mall food court. The footage jumped. Kai at 12, holding his dog Kai at 7, blowing out birthday candles. Kai at 3, screaming at the ocean. Kai as a newborn, swaddled in blue. Then, Kai in the facility. Kai entering the plane. Kai stepping off the lift. Kai looking through the glass at his copy. Even moments from seconds ago, played back instantly, recorded, catalogued. The faceless figure raised one finger, not at Kai, at me, and the screens behind it all switched to me. Every moment from my life, public and private, spilled across the walls like a visual autopsy of my entire existence, my childhood, the fight with my brother in 2014, my first panic attack, me walking home from school in a hoodie, too big for me, my worst mistakes, my stupid teenage selfies, my late-night Discord calls, my TikTok drafts I never posted, my face from this morning, brushing my teeth, every angle, every location, every moment, recorded, stored, studied. I couldn't breathe. Why? I whispered. The faceless head tilted. The air vibrated again. You were never chosen. You were found. The screens changed again. Now they showed other people. Random faces. Millions. People scrolling their phones, sleeping in apartments, sitting in classrooms, streaming games, walking through Times Square, sipping Starbucks, waiting at LAX, taking selfies at Disney, eating fries at McDonald's. Every person unaware. But the facility wasn't unaware of them. It was tracking everyone. Everyone. Kai stepped forward like his body wasn't his. What are you? He asked. The faceless shape lifted its head toward the ceiling, and something in the room shifted. The screens froze. The lights cut. A soft clicking began overhead. Not teeth this time. Keyboards. The sound of 1,000 keyboards being typed at once. Faint but rapid, like the world's biggest data center breathing. Then the air whispered, "We are the archive. We are the mirror. We are what your world will need when you stop remembering yourselves." Kai whispered, "This is a hive." "No," I said, because I finally understood. "This is a backup." The faceless figure stood, and behind it, the chamber walls began to move. Not screens, not glass faces. Dozens, hundreds, pressed through the surface like hands pushing through fabric. All ages, all ethnicities, all expressions, not dead, not alive. Paused, waiting for something. The figure stepped closer to us, its unfinished face inches from mine. The impressions of eyes bore into me like it was learning the shape of my soul. Your copies are ready. Kai grabbed my arm. We're leaving. Now. But the room didn't have an exit anymore. The door behind us was gone. Just smooth wall. The screens flickered back on, every one of them showing us in real time. Except not exactly us. Not what we were doing. What we were about to do. Movements we hadn't made yet. Expressions we hadn't worn. Words we hadn't spoken. And then, the screen showed Kai dying. Not graphic. Not violent. Just him lying on the floor. Eyes open, unmoving, as the faceless figure stood over him. Kai froze. I grabbed him, screamed his name, pulled, and he didn't move. The screen wasn't showing the future. It was showing the moment it decided for him. Kai's legs buckled. He fell without sound. Not bleeding, not injured, just off, like someone unplugged him. I screamed until I tasted metal. The faceless thing turned to me. Every screen switched to my face. Not screaming, not running, just sitting in a chair. Calm, still, empty. The air tightened, and then the whisper. You may go. The wall behind me opened into a hallway I'd never seen before. A sliver of light, snow white, cold wind rushing in, a ladder to the surface. I looked back at Kai. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe. He didn't move. The whisper came again. Leave the body. We already have you. My legs moved without asking me. I climbed the ladder. The hatch opened into a blizzard so loud it drowned my thoughts. I crawled onto the ice. The facility sealed shut behind me, like it never existed. A helicopter appeared on the horizon. A rescue team. They asked how I survived. I didn't know what to say. They took me home. They told me to rest. They said the other two on the manifest never boarded. According to every record available, Kai and Juno never existed. No social media, no apartment, no school records, no DMV, no medical, no phone numbers, no Discord logs. I was alone in all the photos, all the videos, all the memories, like the facility had overwritten them, replaced them, or absorbed them. I tried to sleep, but every night the lights on my phone flickered at 3:13 a.m. Every night, my camera turns on by itself. Every night, a notification pops up, backup complete, and sometimes I catch myself in the mirror, not moving correctly, not blinking at the right time, not breathing when I should. Sometimes the reflection smiles before I do. Sometimes it whispers, "The copy is almost ready."